Like I had these titles that people had preemptively given me just from where I was from when I lived in these different places, living from York to Buffalo to San Antonio, Texas. And so school, it just made me well rounded. So I was able to introduce myself, able to, make friends and keep friends to this day. So that was able to adapt, able to build rapport, build those soft skills as really growing up to become a leader. I think that's what helped the most during those transitions of life from going from young to an adult. So as I took those skills or pretty much grew those skills over the years, I think where I developed my purpose was like, I know I want to lead, I know I want to connect, I know I want to help people because I had people help me.
The harder you grind, the bigger you dream.
The harder you grind,
The bigger you dream.
Hey,
The harder you grind,
the bigger you dream.
Whoa, whoa.
The harder you grind,
The bigger you dream.
The harder
the harder you grind, the bigger you dream.
Let's get it, let's go. The harder you grind, the bigger you dream. The harder you grind, the bigger you dream. The harder you grind, the bigger you dream. I said the harder you grind, the bigger you dream. I said you're up and I'm up. Y'all now tuned in to the Grind Hard Dream Big Show. The harder you grind, the bigger you dream. I got a special guest in the building. Go ahead and introduce yourself to the people.
Hi, my name is Gina Wilson. I am director of Team Thrill Girls Basketball, but I'm also a mom, a wife, and a whole bunch of other things too.
For sure. How you feeling today?
I'm feeling good. Feeling good.
That's what's up. So, for the people that don't know, like, where were you like born and raised, like
Yeah.
early childhood?
So I was born and raised in a small city called York, Pennsylvania, just up 83 North if you're traveling from Maryland. Small stint of my life there, and then upstate New York, a little bit of Texas. I mean, I've been all around, so real versatile. But I was at York, Pennsylvania is where my heart is, where most of my family on my dad's side and my mom's side is upstate New York.
Okay, and so like, as you were navigating through these different places, like, did you like how was like school like as a kid?
Wow, so that's a great question, man. So very different places, as you can see, like York, Pennsylvania, small town, so everybody knows you, or at least they know your family. So when you come from that type of environment and had a big family, or they're at least like, hey, they know my dad, or my younger brothers, and things like that. So that was a little bit different. And then going to upstate New York, where I lived in Buffalo, it's freezing cold. Way, completely different environment, bigger city, but, just different environment altogether. So in school, it was like, that's the girl from, like, they thought I was like from the South or something, I guess. And so that was different. And then moving into Texas, then I was like the East Coast girl. So, like I had these titles that people had preemptively given me just from where I was from when I lived in these different places, living from York to Buffalo to San Antonio, Texas. And so school, it just made me well rounded. So I was able to introduce myself, able to, make friends and keep friends to this day. So that was one of the things that it helped me with.
That's dope. I think that that exposure piece, like being around the world early, is like all right, cool. Because I think travel and exposure is so key and vital. So like, did you have like hobbies? As a kid, like things that you found yourself like liking to do and stuff?
Yeah, I found myself just making sure I was involved in a lot of things. And back then, it was the latchkey kid phase. So, like, my parents worked. And so I was responsible for, coming home and kind of making sure I made my after school snacks, lunches, and all that, to prepare for the next day. But most importantly, I was trying to be involved in activities and stay in school or after school or at the rec center before I went home. So if I was, whether I was in track or cheerleading, or I signed up for marching band one year, like this was like I wanted to stay busy, and they all taught me different things. Of course, I played basketball, so I started playing basketball when I was like 11, 12 years old. And that was a passion that I grew to love over the course of the year. So that kept me, it was like keeping me busy, but also still having something to do. And when you're younger and you're living in different places, like a sport can connect you, music can connect you, things that you're involved in can connect you real instantly. So like when I moved from York, Pennsylvania up to Buffalo, New York, they were like, oh, that's the girl that was like in the cheerleading competition. She made the big 33, top in the state. So, like that transferred with me. And then they were like, oh, she's a point guard, hey, we got this girl. So then you instantly make connections.
Yeah.
And I think that's true to this day. Like the sport, being involved in sports allowed me to make connections professionally and personally.
Yeah, for sure. I think that's really, really great that you said that too, and that's very, very dope because you didn't like just box yourself in. You're like, I'm gonna try this, I'm gonna try that, I'm gonna try that, and I think that when you're exploring so much, at an early age, it gives you options, right? So it's like, all right, this may not work for me, but hey, I may like this. I may like music. I may like basketball or like you said, track or different things. And it's like, all right, as I continue to explore, I'm learning and I'm gauging more, but I'm also gaining structure. So like with that, as you segued into like, now past the childhood, past high school in a sense, like now you're in adulthood, like what was that moment for you where you're like, hey, I'm not a kid anymore. Like, I'm an adult now. Like, okay,
that
it's
started
different.
That started pretty young, considering that I had my first kid at 20. But I think what made it for me, pretty much develop that purpose for me, was all of the things that I'd done. I was growing leadership skills, transferable skills to my corporate life right now, being a leader. So I think what I was able to adapt, able to build rapport, build those soft skills as really growing up to become a leader. I think that's what helped the most during those transitions of life, from going from young to an adult. So as I took those skills, or pretty much grew those skills over the years, I think where I developed my purpose was like, I know I want to lead, I know I want to connect, I know I want to help people, because I had people help me. And I actually had at younger ages people that pushed me to be in leadership positions and go to leadership events and conferences. And I was in leadership youth ministry and things like that, all growing up as a kid, that were really setting the foundation for what I would do later in life, which I had no idea that it was going to come out that way.
Right, for sure. Like, but I think it was just you being obedient to the assignment. Like, all right, if it's this, it's gonna be this. All right, God, this is what we doing.
That's
All right,
what we
cool.
doing.
This is what we doing. Like, I ain't gonna have no pushback. It is
Right.
what it is. So I think that that's definitely dope. That you sat there and said that, because when you find yourself like working or exploring, you're like, okay, you may not be so sure, but you take this skill set and you continue to sharpen it. It's just a different location and what it looks like, and you're able to adapt and adjust and things like that. So as you segued into like adulthood and everything like that, and finding the purpose, right? I guess, what was that moment where you felt like, okay, this is it. Like, this is my purpose. I have a clear cut vision in what God is showing me, and like, all right, cool, I embrace it.
So I think for me, it was in different phases. So like in my 20s, I felt like I learned that I could lead, but I was still really pretty much an introvert. So believe it or not, I grew up an introvert.
Okay.
I grew up really kind of quiet, soft spoken. I had to like the New York face. They said I had the ice grill. They were like, I'm like, I'm nice, and I'm jovial and things like that. But I just kind of had that tough exterior, and it could have been just from always adapting to new places that I had to like protect,
Got you.
put up a protective layer. So with that said, I would find myself going from from the mindset of here and now to really trying to thinking about some things for the future. So getting back to the question, because I'm just trying to process,
Yeah,
like
got you.
it was different phases. In my
Got you.
20s, I was more so like, okay, I got to work, I got to grind. It was like to just hustle, 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 hustle. I got things to take care of, I had kids and things like that, married. So that was the grind hard phase. And then that taught me to not only grind hard and work hard, but then promote myself. And one time, one of my bosses at the time, she was like, I was working at Verizon, and she was one of the directors. She said, you're doing a lot of great things. You got to promote yourself. So I was getting these roles and promotions and making money at a young age. And it stuck out to me that I was never promoting myself. I was fine with doing the work. And yes, the work will show, but you do have to promote some of the things you're doing, right? And so, and when she explained that to me, that was one phase. So I started kind of promoting what I was doing in my work. Where that transition, then I say like later on in my 30s, I kind of put that in my toolkit, like, hey, promote yourself. And so in my career, I took that and I built on that, and I added certifications and knowledge and education, but also showed the work that I was able to do from what I learned. Also making processes better. So it was one of the things in my corporate career that helped shape me to just come in and streamline processes. And I was like, you know what? I think I need to just maybe do program management. So I'm an engineer program manager right now, outside from the basketball
Right,
stuff
right.
and in technology. And I grew to that, was just something that I think started early on in the 20s and the 30s. I developed more of the learning and roles, and, went on work for, a few other, Fortune 100 companies, and work for one now. And that helped shape me. And that was in the business side. On the personal, on the basketball side, of course, I think what things shaped were just my kids, and kind of helping them out and growing and learning. Similar thing, like you learn different things, and how can I give it back to someone else? How can I pay it forward? So those worked in parallel for me during the growing phases of my purpose and development.
That's dope. That's dope. I like that how you were able to also like find that balance, because I feel like, when we get caught up in work, it's like, okay, this is work. I may not like this, but then it's
Yeah.
like, you know what? No, I actually like this. But then I also have something that, I fell in love with and still, love. And then that doesn't become the work. So I think that, having like, passion to do it, it don't feel like, okay, you know what? I'm going to be stressed out. It's so many hours in a week.
Yeah.
Like, what am I going to do? But finding that balance, like you sat there and said, and just understanding like the importance of family, and just, pouring it back and giving into your community and things like that. So like, with you now, like I'm pretty sure networking has opened so many doors with that. And then you, of course, in basketball, and what you're saying with like youth, like how have those experiences been like for you?
So I tell you, to segue off of like the purpose and how things are kind of working out now, I had to give a shout out to a really good support system. So like my husband, which he's not really on social media, they call him No IG Coach Tony.
Shout out to him for sure.
Has been a really big, support. And he was like, you're always in the background. Even when we ran basketball programs, we had an organization called Team Chaos, like, 15 years ago. And it was one of those things where I was just like, structurally, let's get this together. Let's make sure it's organized, build a website. I was doing like all this behind the scene things. He was coaching. And I think with that encouragement and support from him to say, hey, you need to step more in the forefront. Or like now, fast forward 15 years later, I'm the director of a girls basketball program. He's a coach. He's like, hey, I'm just a coach. And so I'm not the director. He's kind of pushing me in the forefront to expand on some of the things that I want to do, not just with basketball, but just professionally, personally, sharing a story, lifting others up as I climb in both, the youth side, professional, any ways that I can help, any way we can tie it all together. And then another shout out I will say is there's more so like a rebranding that I've taken on in the past 3 years. So I was at an event. You speak of networking. I was at a business leadership conference, and I met the Vivica A. Fox.
Oh wow. Okay.
Yeah, and it's so funny because what she said to me was really simple. She said, "You can do all of the things." She said, "You be multifaceted." So I think at one point I was trying to silo certain things, like, okay, I'm the basketball director, I'm a tech leader, I'm a mom, I'm a wife. And I was trying to balance, and I was trying to really separate those things. Very, very hard. Even you probably go back, like even with me with social media, I would very rarely put anything like personal out or tie in my work and things like that. I was just like trying to keep all these different things separate. And she said, no, you do all of those things. She said, don't let anyone limit you. Very simple, but she said it, and she said it like it almost like she had the declared to me, and I felt that. And then fast forward 2 years after that, I got to meet her personal manager, and I just went up to her and I said, man, do you know what I've done since Vivica told me that? And I explained it to her, and she was like, oh wow. And she shared it with her, and Vivica shared a little snippet on social media. So it was just like that moment. People say rebranding. I guess I can classify it under that, but it was just more so just identifying, like, I can do all of these things and I don't have to silo things. And that's I think a lot of things, especially for women. I'm big on women empowerment. I love our male allies
Yeah, for
that
sure.
help us get to where we need to be. But in terms of, women empowerment, youth empowerment,
Yeah.
letting people know you don't have to limit yourself.
Nah, for sure. I think because when you do, it's like a scarcity mindset, like only can do this or I can only go to this place. It's like, nah, you don't even know what God got for you. Just keep working and you're going to see more and more and more throughout the years as you continue to elevate and grow and meet new people. Like this started 2020. I'm like, okay, I'm in the mic. I'm just sitting down and interviewing people. Now years later, it's like I'm interviewing a lot of people and just doing different things. I'm just going with it. Like, all right, cool. But I just realized I had to build that muscle and just be confident and focused. And networking is very, very important.
And let me give you your flowers,
I appreciate
because I will tell you this. It's not like I'm just like, signing up to be on podcasts and speaking and things like that. Although I do speaking engagements, but the positive energy, the aura, like it's really unmatched out here. And when people are genuine. And so I'll give you flowers because I think that your platform is actually providing a huge positive influence, and people are probably they're going to suck some of that energy in, whether they comment, like it, repost it, share, they're going to take some of that energy in. And so you're doing a wonder to what is needed in this world.
I appreciate that so much. Yeah. It just started, like I said, just writing the vision and making it plain. Like, it was biblical really for me when I started. And it was like, I'm going to just keep it that way because it was just like, all right, cool. And, being a voice, because like I said, the reason why I started it was like when I was watching the news, all I saw was negative stuff. So, like, because I saw all negative stuff, it was like, nobody's going to highlight anything positive. Nobody wants to, do that. And I'm like, you know what? No, I know people that are doing some amazing things. Let me just go ahead and create this. I went to school, got my degree from Bowie State, my communications degree. So
Okay,
use
shout out
it
to
and
Bowie State.
keep doing that. And then, segueing into that and just using it now and being able to help the next generation. I never thought I'd be helping the next generation. I wanted to be on ESPN and sit down and talk about boxing and football and basketball and all those things. But God was like, no, I got something else for you. You're going to be ready for it. And when it happened, it happened. So, I just embrace it. I enjoy it. It doesn't feel like work to me because I feel like this is something that he's qualified and called me to do.
Well, amen to that.
Amen. Yes, amen. So as we continue to segue with the youth, I want to commend you for that because I think people realize that, okay, I play on the team, I could be a coach, I could be a director, but I think that it was also maybe a safe haven that you created as well, where you have a community of people that have a like-minded, vision and understand everything that's going on, and they're able to buy in. So like when we're talking about basketball, I know earlier you were saying like these are like connections, but these may also serve as like safe havens for people where it's like, you know what, I just want to get away. And I'm able to do that through playing the sport and learning structure and things like that. So how has that been like for you in the process, like when you stepped into it from like when it started to like now?
Well, it seems to always circle back. And I say that from back then to now. So, for example, when we did Team Chaos, and Chaos stood for Children Having Alternative Options for Success.
Okay.
Right. And so when we did that, I still run into kids, and my husband will run up to kids and he'll say, Coach Tony, like that, we in the like Laurel community, or PG County that are doing other things. Like one kid, he's a videographer, and he just graduated from Morehouse, and we went to his graduation. I mean, this is now, a decade later, because this kid was like in middle school when he was coaching. So when you see them doing positive things, I think what helps is that, and then when they see you and they kind of run up to you just like they were when they in middle
Yeah,
school.
right.
Because I always see like the kids' face, like even though they get older or
Yeah.
some of the boys, they got, mustache or beards
Yeah.
now, but it's like you see that and you know that you had a positive impact. And although it can be challenging sometimes, you know that you may have created different safe havens for some of those kids. We had a kid, Eric Jackson, back in the day, and unfortunately, Eric Jackson was killed in gun violence, right? And circling back to years later, where his family or his mom actually honored and mentioned us in his obituary, like that we were vital parts of when he was in middle school and early high school, and being a safe haven for them, obviously for him then, but obviously when he got older, just different things happened. He was a really good kid, but I feel like those are the things where you created safe havens early on. And I don't want to get choked up because it just gets a little sad sometimes, but his family is very supportive, his mom is very supportive, and we still talk and have that connection. Fast forward to now, we are still beyond coaching. I feel like my ministry and mission is beyond coaching. So I try to help, young ladies now on the girls basketball side with leadership skills, with, hey, you want to get in technology? I'm always pushing that because that's big. Like,
Yeah, no, definitely, of course.
I mean, we
Like,
need
if
to
y'all
teach
don't
these
know,
kids AI
yeah,
in
I'm about to say, if you
kindergarten.
don't know, AI is not only here, but it's here to stay.
It's here to
And
stay.
it's like
Yeah.
literally every single day it's changing.
Absolutely. In Saudi Arabia, they're putting AI in kindergarten
Oh, wow.
curriculum.
Okay, you just sat there and taught me some. Wow.
Yes, I just learned this last month, and I went to John Hope's Global Forum Foundation.
Wow. Okay.
And he's an amazing guy, too. Amazing. If you get a chance to look at some of the things that he's doing with financial awareness and financial literacy and, the good capitalism type technique. But with that said, just getting back to the safe havens that you're providing for kids, or safe havens that I feel that we're providing, is that we're providing an opportunity.
Yeah.
So whether we're providing an opportunity on the court and advocating for you to get that scholarship, with your performance and with the work ethic that you put in, there is still the advocacy that takes place as well. So I'm talking to coaches and trying to give them the extra, put that cherry on top. Like, this is a really good kid. The family's great. They've got great grades. Those are the things that help advocate. But with that said, I feel that is where safe haven, to using that term that you mentioned,
Yeah.
it really encompasses as many resources that you can provide. So if I can extend resources, things that I've learned, like things I've learned with my own kids, things I've learned even through the journey of helping other kids do this, that actually becomes their safe haven. That becomes really their toolkit for the future in whatever they do. Because if they go play professionally, that's great.
Right.
We've had tons of kids that are playing, play professionally now and have played professionally. But if they just become really good citizens, and if they become leaders, or they become the next CEO of whatever, I am totally happy with that. If there's any mark that I'm able to provide.
Nah, for sure. And like I said, I salute that, because that's what I definitely see. I see leadership on and off the court. I see different, like heavy on the youth engagement and things like that. And just big on community engagement, I would say, as well, because I think it's our responsibility to not only share the information, but be able to pour back and give, because if we don't, then who will? It's like, we knew how it was. Like, me coming up, I remember my neighbors being neighbors. Now it's like, okay, the neighbors outside, and when the last time you checked on your neighbor or something like that,
Yeah.
So it's just like, being that for them, and being, vocal, and being that leader as well. And that's not something that somebody could just easily throw on to you. I feel like that's something that you just walk into. So,
Yeah.
it's
I mean,
very
I've
important.
walked into kids actually living with me other than my own kids. So not say I walked into it, but it's like if they needed a place, they needed some structure, they needed some guidance, or the parents needed some help. And, we did that, I think, twice in in the past 10 or 15 years. Very challenging, when you're trying to, raise other kids or kind of bring children into your home to help. But like you said, it's like a neighbor, having that neighborly feeling, like, let me try to help you out and things like that.
Got you. So I know you also said, in addition to like AI, that's something that, kids should be learning about? What are some other things you feel like kids should be learning about as well?
So my top three, AI being number one. Second is financial literacy.
Okay.
We weren't taught
No, we
financial
won't.
literacy at all. I think I figured it out in my 30s a little bit. Started really honing in on things late 30s.
Gotcha.
And there just weren't. I think there's more things now than back then in terms of being able to micro learn. Micro learning to me is really big. Like you could in micro learning, because you can pull up so much information online. You can research so many things. There's people like yourself doing podcasts and informational sessions, webinars, things like that. I think that's big for not even just youth, but everyone to get involved. Like find something within financial literacy that can help you out. So AI 1, financial literacy 2, and then also think that for 3, the third thing would be leadership.
Okay.
Now, I don't think that everyone has an innate ability to become a leader, but I do think that there's certain qualities. There's the emotional intelligence that we aren't expanding on early on. And so if we teach and kind of build what's part of the emotional intelligence landscape, we then will grow leaders, right?
I agree.
Or if you're not growing a leader, you at least have people that understand what leadership is and that can follow.
Right.
And then the world's a better place.
For sure.
Right?
Yeah, no, for sure. I agree. I think AI is important. I think it's more than 3. It's so many other things.
Yeah, I just put it
I
down
think,
to 3.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, I've always sat there and told people like, mental health is important. Of course, like the art of using your voice, public speaking is also important. I think that's essential. The money management, financial literacy, like you were saying, AI and technology, because it's here. Like you can't ignore it. Like no, it's gonna be in your face. You're gonna see it. Social media, all of those things you're gonna see. I think that knowing how to advocate for yourself is important. I think social advocacy is important because knowing how to build community, also entrepreneurship, because majority businesses that are created to solve problems and solutions. It's like, hey, this is what I offer. This is my value and this is my skill set. So as I continue to sharpen my skill set, that's what it is. And then, of course, something creative where it could be maybe content creation, something like this, or, podcasting, film, photography, what have you. But I think a plethora of things would at least gauge a kid's interest to be like, okay, this may not be my cup of tea, but this may be it. So, for them to have the options and learn different things along the way, I think is a dope thing.
Absolutely. And that's where the micro learning comes in, especially with today's society. So like any age, you have the ability to pull up information. Now, you do want to make sure that information is factual because also in AI, I will tell you there's things called hallucination. So you can type in some prompts and it will provide you with information that is not accurate or truthful whatsoever.
Right.
And I'll geek out about that when it comes to AI because I've really been digging into that, gained a couple certifications in the past year or so. So with that said, I think that the micro learning is a key piece for people to, expand on different things. You can look up a different topic and like you said, even if you aren't a public speaker, but you could kind of figure out a layout or outline of what that takes. And I think also too on the entrepreneurship side, it's really advantageous for our youth to look at ways that they can start businesses because they can start them a lot easier than you probably could, 20 years ago, at least, like I said, back in my day.
Right.
A little older,
Yeah.
There's actual blueprints, framework where if it's like as you establish your podcast and things like that a lot of young people can do. I'm also a side entrepreneur, so I do some consulting and things like that on project management and organizational leadership. And that's something that I started the actual business 3 years ago. But if I had did it like in my 20s, I really had some of the, I had the skills to do it. I just wasn't even in that mindset like, oh, I can be an entrepreneur too. Again, not limiting yourself.
Right. Yeah. Yeah, you don't want to put yourself in the box. I mean that's a jack of all trades. I feel like when you could do a little bit of something, it's like what you need. I'm at the grocery store. I'm in this aisle. I'm in this aisle. I'm in this aisle. I got all the aisles. Like what you need.
Right.
You know what you want. I got it. You know what I'm saying? My pleasure. Chick-fil-A. But anyway, like I feel like it's just different things where people can build and connect and grow. I think that the power of networking is so important. Relationship building is so important. To people out there, I would just tell them also like, bringing value to, these situations and understanding like, how can I help you is going to be more important than what can I gain, because if you're going in there just trying to gain something and you ain't got nothing to offer, then the conversations become limited and it's minimum. And it's like, but no, it's like, oh, you got this and I got that, or you work with the youth, I work with the youth too, or you coach and oh, I coach too. Now you're able to solve solutions where it's like, okay, well, I was thinking about doing this. Well, you want to collaborate on this or however like that. And I feel like it's so much for everybody. I mean, the DMV is a beautiful area where everybody can grow and prosper and all these different things. And I just love what I'm seeing from, the entertainment to to the sports with the kids and everything like that. And I do want better for the area. And I feel like, we're innovators of the area.
Oh, absolutely. And I know I mentioned my early upbringing, where I'm from. The DMV is the longest place I've ever lived in my life. So even though I lived a lot of different places, I've lived in Maryland the longest in my life. So, been in Maryland for 24 years. So yeah,
shout out to Maryland.
That's like half of my life, close to, without saying my age. But
yeah, for sure.
I've been here. I've been here mostly. I do like the collaboration, the innovation. I think that as a community, we can collaborate a lot more, especially in our African American community. It's like it's not competition all the time. It should be collaboration, and the more we collaborate, the more we can innovate. The more we can take different ideas, and as you said, whether it's leadership, empowerment. Expanding on the youth, we share these successes and success is multiplied.
Right. I agree. I was never a fan of geometry, but I will say that the equation of life for me was like, you can't be stuck on your own angle. And when you add value, you subtract your pride and ego and multiply your effort, you could be successful. So that's really been something that I've owned in on and like, all right, cool. And I've realized that and applied that and realized that it'll open up so many doors because of your mindset and what you're trying to do. So that's very, that resonates with me. So,
absolutely.
sure.
You define your success.
Right.
Success doesn't define you. You define what that is, and it's not someone else's that you look at and compare. And I tell the athletes that because especially in the sports world,
oh yeah, for sure,
everybody wants to compare, and it's like your journey is your journey.
Right.
Your success is your success. You might have, small things that lead up to a bigger thing later. You might have some big things that happen early on in your life that get you started. It's all going to be different, but as they say, keep your eyes on your own paper.
For sure. Yeah, you know what I'm saying? You're not going to be able to, stack, paper without you keep looking at somebody else. It's like, come on, what's about yours? You got to focus on yours.
Don't cheat and look at the test.
Yeah, your assignment is your assignment.
Your
know what I'm
assignment
saying?
is your assignment.
Your assignment is your assignment.
That's your quote tomorrow.
Your assignment is your assignment, literally. Or like literally, like I said, what God gives you or what you talk to God about, it's not really for everybody else. So like it's just understanding that, and like privacy is cool too. So like don't be afraid of that. But all of this work that we do, what does self-care look like? Because self-care, I feel like, is so vital. It's so important because we could feel like a Tesla car, just all the gas in the world, and all of a sudden it's like, you know what? I got to go to the charging station. But I can't find the next one because I don't know where it's at. I've been all the way around. So, what does the self-care look like for you? And like, what are some things that have been beneficial for you in that state?
So self-care, I think that society has glamorized it like, okay, we're going to the spa, and those are things, trust me, I love a good spa day. I definitely book my spa days. But for me, self-care started with setting boundaries.
Okay.
And in 2020, I lost my dad. In 2022, 1 year or 2 years into one day, I lost my grandmother, two very, very important people in my life. And I'd realized, and I had to plan both, with my family. I was like the main one to plan both funerals and, was the executive of state and things like that. And it was a big charge.
Mm.
And I realized that, okay, what I thought I was doing as self-care on the outside was not helping on the inside.
Mm.
And so from that point on, I started looking at where I needed to set boundaries. I actually had to go through like a grief counseling because that was tough. Like dad, grandma, and literally, I'm talking about 2 years and 1 day exactly. It's insane for me. So, and I'm still trying to manage a basketball program, stay positive, upbeat, and people complain about some like little stuff. And I'm like, yeah, I just lost my.
Yeah.
I don't
Like,
want to hear
little do
this.
y'all know, like, what's going on
Yeah,
here?
you
just sit there
complaining
looking at me,
about
yeah.
like some dues and fees or something. I got it like so. What I found is that self-care really starts from the inside and works out. And so I started setting boundaries. I even came up with an entire speaking presentation on setting boundaries, and I was able to present it in my corporate job. We had a conference called Radiate, and I was able to speak on it. And I touched on where that came from because, as I mentioned, I'm working a corporate job. I'm 9 to 5. I'm mom. I'm wife. I'm doing all these different things, trying to set up a side business at the time, and I wasn't really finding time for myself. And it started with trying to do everything for everyone else. And so now, like, it's a power in no. Like, sometimes someone asks me something, no, like I'm not available, and not in a sense not available, not reachable, but I think self-care takes. It's the time that you take for yourself. So I started reading more books, taking time, away from social media, not scrolling as much.
Right.
And so like, I think since then I've probably like over a dozen books that I've read as part of self-care. Other part of self-care was just like, what can I do? What can I learn to help me, whether it's professionally, personally, or whatever. So again, taking on the reading, and those were things of self-care that helped for me. Started just really, really, I think, enjoying life a lot more, a part of self-care. So even the small things, whether it was like getting together with some friends more often, being together with family, because I spent a ton of time with, I feel like, with everybody else's kids when it comes to basketball season, especially AAU, we're hitting it like March through July.
Right.
And, 2 or 3 tournaments a month and things like that. Travel.
Yeah.
It's a lot.
Yeah, it's a lot.
And you miss things you might not, you miss some engagements with your family and things like that. But I started to just figure it out where I was like, I'm trying to make everything with this, but I started balancing out. So I might not made it to this event. Now I'm a director. I don't coach. So I was not like the coach not showing up for the game. The coach is definitely still showing up to the game.
Fact.
But I may not have been able to make it because I had to go just be there for a friend. And to me, that was part of self-care from the inside out. Setting boundaries.
Yeah, setting boundaries is important. What you say yes to, what you say no to is expensive. So make sure that you manage your time. Like, you're not going to be able to be available for everything. Yeah. I think that, is very, very important because I learned that as well. And I'm still setting boundaries like, nah, I'm not, no, I'm not available. I'm on D&D. Leave me alone.
Yeah.
Like,
no in itself is
knowing
a
yourself
complete,
is important.
is a complete sentence. N-O, period.
Yeah,
like,
literally.
You
drop,
don't
whatever.
You
yeah,
don't
literally.
have to even explain.
No, you don't.
And I feel like the other thing is like, it's not no and I'm not approachable because I do make sure, especially for my team, my coaches, for my job, like I'm responsive. And that's another thing. Like, I don't want to segue off of the self-care, but I feel like no matter what you're doing, be responsive. I think there's this thing in the atmosphere now where people are like, be unapproachable, be put yourself, like, if you're too available, then you're making yourself less important. No, be available. I tell you one thing, I can there's a ton of college coaches that I know, obviously being helping kids and things like that, that I built relationship with. But I built a relationship with Dawn Staley. And let me tell you something, and I tell my coaches this all the time, so I think, like, there she go. She's got to be probably one of the busiest coaches and people in the world.
Right.
Just with her, the platform that she has, she has a national championship team,
right. Mm-hmm.
All of the things, right? Leading the way for women in sports. And I don't call and like bug her for like little things or anything. I might just call, check up on her, and just, we build
right. Exactly.
She responds.
Right.
So I said, so my joke is, I said, if Dawn Staley can respond, everybody else can respond to if you just, if you just checking on somebody
Yeah,
or
for
you
sure.
said something. So, yeah, I just think that that's one of the things in society where we kind of intertwine, we mistakenly intertwine being busy and being, unapproachable or unreachable as like an elite status. It's not. Like, you can still be responsive. And as a leader, I'm very responsive. If you need something from me, I'm going to make sure that I can get a response to you or get you what you need in a reasonable amount of time. And I expect the same thing back. It's reciprocal.
Yeah. Nah, for sure. Yeah, exactly. If I got you, you got you. If I
Yeah.
got you, I got you.
But I'm
You
going to
my
take care
dog,
of
you
my
my
people
dog. Yeah,
first. So,
yeah, for sure. I agree. I think that that's important, and just like I said, those things that bring you joy and peace. Like I know for me, journaling, reading books, podcasts, and not only recording content, but watching others as well. However, you can grow spiritually, mentally, physically, emotionally. What I'm saying, financially as well. I think that those deposits that you make are so important. Doing the things that bring you joy, like, okay, this is not work to me, and I know I have to do this to recharge, refocus as many times as you need to, because everything can move like this, but your pace is your pace, your rhythm is your rhythm, your speed is your speed. So don't feel like you have to be like everybody else
yeah,
when you're supposed to be standing out. So yeah, that's what I would say
absolutely.
for sure. So what's the motivation like to the people out there who feel lost or who feel confused, like about a dream, about a goal? Like, what motivation would you tell those people?
I feel like if you're lost, look at some of the things that are around you because it's sometimes right in front of your face, and that's when you start to look out and feel that you're like not sure what path you need to go on or what your passion is or what your purpose. 9 times out of 10 is it's in your face. Like for me, for example, like I knew all these things that I was doing as I was growing up, being put in leadership positions, being captain of cheerleading, captain of basketball, things like that, point guard. Like I was placed in those roles because of things that I had been taught and that they trusted me in. And then years later, it's like I had these abilities, so of course I can become a leader. Of course I can lead in the professional world and doing things on the nonprofit side, and it was right in front of me, but I didn't really. Again, I tried to play the back, be behind the scenes. Let's just make sure everything's done. Let's check off the boxes. Let's kind of really use this project management methodology and ensuring the checklist and deliverables are done. Right, and that's just
Yeah,
in life, in basketball, everything. I was like check for everything involved in the task. And I just think that people, if you really look closely at what you've done or what you've been around, what's your why, it doesn't have to be something traumatic, even though like for me, the trauma of losing, two very important people in my life led me to setting boundaries and led me to, you know, talking about that and digging deep and learning more about that in my life, that it could just be something purely in front of you. And most importantly, God calls it an assignment.
yeah,
So my grandmother used to tell me, God will give you a good idea every day. And I would share that. I would tell my kids that. I would say, well, God's giving you a good idea every day. And if you think about it, sometimes when you have that quiet time alone or whatever, you think about something like, I should do that. But how many times do we act on it?
mm,
Or how many times do we take the steps or have the courage to reach out to someone and say, this is my idea, because you might be scared, someone's like, oh, that's a dumb idea or
right,
whatever, but I feel like God gives you a good idea every day. Gives you, some sign. And for people that are, spiritual, I feel like you're going to have those signs. You just have to really, really hone in. You have to really kind of pay attention to your environment and just listen. Sometimes quietness will give you the guidance that you need overall, that spatial visualization, so to speak, to see what's in front of you. And I just think that that's it for me. Like I spend sometimes late at night once I've stopped scrolling, and then I open up a book and things like that, and I just really kind of think about some ideas, or I just actually kind of pray and I think about like, God, like what where are you placing me? What am I doing? Your work. Am I fulfilling what I need to do in life? And that's pretty much the answer.
No, I agree. I think that, whatever dream you have, goal you have, like, don't be afraid to do it. Just start, like, to be transparent. Like, I used to think about, like, oh yeah, if I have a podcast, like, what's it going to look like? What's it going to be like? God, like, just sit in the chair, figure it out. You know what I
Just figure
mean?
it out.
Just figure it out. And as
Yeah.
I went, and I just stayed consistent. That's another thing too. Just staying consistent, building that skill, building habits instead of building goals. I think that's so vital and important. Like, we can all be focused on a goal, but it's like the habits will allow us to accomplish the goal. So I think that they go hand in hand. So, like, building those habits, building those skill sets, and just continuing to move forward. Like, show up anyway. You may be tired, still give it 100%. You have to be there. Be there. The best ability to me is availability. So, like you were saying, like,
Absolutely.
you still want to be available.
You need to be
because
available.
that's your ability. Like, if they're gonna count on you, they count on you, but they're counting on you because you have something that they need. So, like, don't ever devalue yourself.
Right.
God qualifies you. He qualifies the call. You're qualified. You're dope. You're amazing. You're a vibe. You're all of that.
Oh, thank
And
you.
just believe that. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like, people need to believe that. So,
Yeah.
yeah, be big on your belief. And, like I said, Pastor Battle said it, and I'm going to say it too. You are what you say. I'm saying you are what you say. And
if you're going to do it,
yeah,
do it scared.
Yeah, do it.
All right. Just do it scared. I feel like even on a professional side, just stepping out there, they say step out on faith. And it's hard. It's harder, it's easier said than done.
Yeah.
Because you have these things in your idea and you have these ideas and people are so critical and,
yeah,
the social media and things like that. But I tell you one thing, like, there's different things that if you're looking at the end goal versus what you can do to get started, you'll never get anything done.
Right.
A quick analogy that I learned was, oh gosh, and I can't remember who said this, but it was a couple months ago, and they said, if you want to climb the mountain, drive past the mountain first. See how many steps it takes. See what kind of hiking boots you might need and things like that. Or go buy your hiking boots and get started. Because what people are looking at in the end is like, man, I got to climb that mountain right there. And it looks really big from here.
Right.
But once I buy the boots, once I start kind of taking the small steps to figure out how I'm going to climb the mountain,
Yeah.
I can climb the mountain.
Yeah, for sure. The light work is easy when the shadow work is done.
Yeah,
Yes,
exactly.
I agree with that 100%. So, this was a great conversation.
Thank you.
I appreciate you for just sharing the insight, sharing the knowledge. As a mother, as a coach, as a wife, and all of these things, and just continue to elevate, continue to grow. You've always had, like I said, it's always been great. I know that we connected through social media, saw you at a basketball event as well, and it was great to meet you. Great energy and everything like that. And I know that God is gonna do bigger and better. And I believe that what you're doing, I commend, because it's not easy. It's truly a calling to impact and motivate not only people but also the next generation, and that's what the focus for me and the goal is, to empower the next generation, to let them know, like, hey, it's possible. If God can use me, He can use you too. So I appreciate you for that, and I appreciate you for the things that you're doing.
Thank you. I appreciate this, and thank you for your platform and your positivity. Again, I said your aura and positive. And like, I look at those posts like early in the morning, and you're like, get up, let's go. And I'm like, let's go. And I get on the gym. This is before I have my energy drink. Now I have my energy drink, I'm already on 1,000. But like, I look at that and it's like, it gives a positive surge. And I think you're giving that resurgence to the community. So you keep doing what you're doing as well. Thank you.
I appreciate that. And y'all already know, the harder you grind, the bigger you dream. The harder you grind, the bigger you dream. The harder you grind, the bigger you dream. I said, the harder you grind, the bigger you dream. And we out.
We out.
Yes. That was good.
Soundstripe.